Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Raj Bhagavad Ki Jai. Nati Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namachara Haridas Bhagavad Ki Jai. Namaste Prabhu Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Bhakti Gaura Bhakti Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Samakun Radhakun Dharam Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai. Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai. Advaita Dhamma Ki Jai. Raghunath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Yangamaya Ki Jai. Yangamaya Ki Jai. Samvita Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories to Shikar and Gauranga.
Lord Nrsimhadev ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Question. Do you know when Bhakti Caleb left?
Right before Paragon.
5 o'clock?
Yeah, could be, I think he's supposed back tomorrow. Supposedly. Or tomorrow evening. Maybe Saturday. I'm not sure. Okay. He's supposed to be gone for about 1 day. Okay, Bhagavad Gita class. Introduction prayer, page 1. Omaganya Pramadasya Jnana Salakaya Chaturmita Nina Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Saripitam Nina Tale Swayam Pakavamayam Padati Svapadatikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada was established within this material world mission to fulfill the desire for Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guruna Vaishnava Shrupa Sagrajatam Sakana Raghunana Vita Sachetam Sadetam Sadutam Pariyajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkanana Vishtam Scha. I offer respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Sri Jiva Goswami. Offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with the Aditya Acharya, Gadhar Srivasa, and other associates. Offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishwakata. Hey Krishna Guru Sindhu Dina Banga Vyapate Kopisha Kopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste. Oh my dear Krishna, you're the friend of the distress and the source of creation. You're the master of the gopis and lover of Radharani. Offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapa Kanchana Brahmi Hare Vindasvastadare Vispamyasute Devi Pranamamani Hare Hare. Offer my respects to Radharani, whose body complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vishwanath,
and are very dear to Lord Krishna.
Pancha Kapatarupayascha Vipasindhuvaya Evascha Patitanam Ayapayo Vaishnavayo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavananda Sri Vedya Gadhar Shri Bhaktinanda. Offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Bhaktinanda, Sri Vedya Gadhar Shri Bhakti, Srivasa, all others in line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are on chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. We're starting at verse 29 today. Apami Bhakti Pranam, Pranay Prane Pranam, Tahapare, Pranana Pana Bhakti Yudava, Pranayayam Nama Parayana, Tahare Niyakaraha, Parayana Paramishu, Vivati. Translation. And there are even others who are reminded of the process of rest, restraint, to remain in trance, and they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them curtail the eating process, offering the outborn breath into itself as a sacrifice. Text 30. Sarvepi yagya video yagya shapita kamasha yagya shishtamrita picho yanti brahma sanatanam. Translation. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reaction and tasting the nectar of the remnants of such sacrifice. They go to the supreme eternal atmosphere. Text 31. Nayam loko te ayasya Uto naya kukuru satama. Translation. O best of true dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then in the next? Text 32. Ikam bahu viyagyagya vitata pramano mukhe karmajan viditam sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Translation. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born in different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Text 33. Sarvam karma kilam partha Yame Parasamakriyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possession. O son of Krita, after all the sacrifice of work accumulates in transcendental knowledge. Text 34. Avidi Brahmi Bhakti Nama Paripasyanena Saveya Utparishchapte Ganam Yaminastapa Darshina. Just to try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge into you because he has seen the truth. Text 35. Yat Vanapunaham Evam Yasyami Pandava Yanudani Yashashani Karshayasakani Akamaniya. And when you have thus learned the truth, you know that all living beings are but part of me, and they are in me and are mine. Morning-tide Ki Jai. Text 36. Api chid asi papi paya sarvibhaya papa krita mahatma sarvam jnana slavinayai vijnana saskarishyasi. Translation. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the mode of transcendental knowledge, you cross over the ocean of miseries. Text 37. Yatava Shri Nir Vashmasat Kuti Arjuna Yanami Sarva Karmani Vashmasat Kuti Tata. Translation. As the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes over within us, so does the fire of knowledge burn to the ashes all reactions to material activities. Text 38. Nahi jnana sarvesham pavitrami bhavidyate tasvayam yoga samsita kalinatmani vindati. Translation. In this world, there's nothing so sublime and pure and transcendental
knowledge.
Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has achieved this enjoys itself within himself in due course of time. Text 39. Shravata labhati jnanam tatpara samyati draya jnanam labhriva param santim acharya vikarachati. Translation: A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues the senses quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Final text this evening, text 40. Agyacharaschad anascha samyascha atmanashyati nyayam gukosmitam haro nasukam samsayat manam. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. For the doubting soul there is happiness neither in this world or in the next. Turning to text 29. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And there are even others who are inclined to the process of breath, with strength to remain in trance, and they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them curtailing the eating process, off the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Purport. This system of yoga for controlling the breath process is called pranayama. In the beginning, it is practiced in the Hatha Yoga system through different sitting postures. All these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. This practice involves controlling the air within the body, which enables simultaneous passage in opposite directions. The apana air goes downward, and the prana air goes up. The pranayama yogi practices breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized in puraka, equilibrium. Similarly, when the exhaled breathing is offered to the inhaled breathing, it is called vichaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, it is called kumbhaka yoga. By practice of kumbhaka yoga, the yogis increase the duration of life by many, many years. A Krishna-conscious person, however, being always situated in transcendental loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes the controller of the senses. His senses, always being engaged in the service of Krishna, have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation. A Krishna-conscious person begins from the transcendental stage, and is constantly in that consciousness. Therefore, there is no falling down, and ultimately he enters into the abode of the Lord without delay. The practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. Without sense control, there's no possibility of getting out of this material entanglement. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Translation once again. And there others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, and they practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Some of them compel the eating process, offering the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Hare Krishna. I remember picking up a book and trying to practice the Hatha Yoga system one time. That's an intense workout, just the breathing process alone. Oh my word. Bhakti Yoga is so easy compared to Hatha Yoga system. Oh. In this day and age, it's the Bhakti Yoga system that is recommended. Not all these other yoga systems that are out there. Those worked in previous ages. You had more time to perfect it. But we're in the age of Kali. Our lifespan is extremely short in the age of Kali. Our intelligence is even shorter. So, we're the smartest ones on the short bus. And yeah, the other yoga systems aren't recommended in this age because you're probably not going to perfect the yoga system in this lifetime. You might be really good at it, and you might become an expert at Hatha Yoga, but you're not going to perfect it in time. Unless there's like a special grace that, Krishna gives you. But Bhakti Yoga is where it's at. This is what's recommended. This is what attaches us to Krishna. Helps us escape this samsara, cycle of birth and death. Move on to text 30. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the remnants of such sacrifices, they go to the supreme eternal atmosphere. Purport. From the foregoing explanation of different types of sacrifices, namely sacrifice of one's possessions, study of the Vedas, or philosophical doctrines, and performance of the yoga system, it is found that the common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on the platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. This platform is in the eternal atmosphere, the Brahman atmosphere. All the above mentioned sacrifices help one become cleansed of sensual reactions and material existence. By this advancement in life, one not only becomes happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sense gratification, root cause, material existence. And that's what we're trying to correct ourselves of. Because we are addicted to gratifying our senses. We are addicted to this material world. That's why we are here. Bhakti Yoga is like the Alcohol Anonymous group. We're trying to get out of this material world. We're trying to get rid of these addictions. The only way to do that is to learn control over the senses. And the first step in that is surrendering to Krishna. Chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's this chanting of the mantra. This is the key. This is what frees us from these material entanglements. And it's a process. It's a training of the mind. Not only are we purifying ourselves with this Maha Mantra, but we are training the mind to put our awareness where we want it. We want it upon Krishna. We want it on God at all times. And so when we do our 16 rounds in the morning, I can't preach on this heavy enough. We have to do the Maha Mantra and do it sincerely. It's the only way to advance. Keep our concentration on this sound vibration alone. When other thoughts arise, don't follow the thoughts. Bring yourself back to the mantra. The thoughts will continue to come up all the time. We're so attached to our thought process because our awareness is situated there. That's why the Maha Mantra is so hard in the beginning. Because we're comfortable with following our thoughts as they emerge. But this is an exercise, this is a practice. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I wonder what I have for breakfast today. Oh, there's a thought. I gotta bring myself back to the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Wonder why Jagannath looks so funny. Oh, there's another thought. I gotta bring myself back to the mantra. This is something that we have to do over and over and over again as we're doing our mantra meditation. Recognize that these thoughts are arising. We're not trying to not think. We just have to recognize that they are arising and not be attached to the thought. Let them continue on about their day. But you bring your awareness back to the Maha Mantra itself each and every time. And only through time and practice, as sincerely doing this, can you make advancement with the Maha Mantra. Because what you end up doing, you're training your awareness to be situated and surrendered to the Maha Mantra, surrendered to Krishna, and not to the constant streaming thoughts that emerge from the brain, from the mind. When one becomes unattached to the thought process and becomes attached to the Maha Mantra, that's when the nectar really begins to rise and flow. Things become so sweet. Because the mind can be your worst enemy. So many people, great personalities, we look at so many examples of great personalities that, they had name, fame, wealth, and prestige. But yet, because of their mind, they were unhappy. You can surround yourself with the most lavish luxuries, but if your mind is not under control, it can be your worst enemy, and you could be in a state of misery, surrounded by gold. Think about that. You could be miserable in a multi-million-dollar mansion because of your mind. You could be miserable with first-class service being catered to you because your mind is not happy, because you're attached to the thoughts. Personalities like Elvis Presley, King of Rock, name, fame, wealth, prestige, had it all. But he was attached to his mind, attached to his thoughts. He needed drugs to stay happy. In the end, that took his life. Personalities, let's say, like Michael Jackson's the king of pop. Name, fame, wealth, prestige. People worshipped him. People used to, he had to have security, personal security, walk with him out on his own property. The Neverland property, it's so many acres of property because people were so in love with this with him that they would literally parachute down onto his property to meet him. He had to have security walk with him because he was so famous. But behind the scenes, even though he was bringing happiness and joy to so many millions of people, he lived a very miserable life behind the scenes. He lived in much suffering. Not only with some of his physical conditions, but with his own mind. He was hooked on prescription drugs. Ended up having to take shots to go to sleep at night. Which ended up taking his life. He was surrounded in the lap of luxury. People worshipped him. But he was miserable. Robin Williams. Great actor, great comedian. Name, fame, wealth, prestige again, family. Top of his career. Brought joy and laughter to millions and millions of people. Respected Hollywood actor, respected Hollywood comedian. But behind the scenes, he was struggling with cocaine addiction, alcoholism, and in the end, he took his own life. That's the consequence of letting your mind be in control of things. Having your awareness situated on what your mind is saying. Oh, I want to see this. I want to look at that. I want to smell this. I want to taste this. I want to do this. I want to do that. The mind is never satisfied. You can surround yourself in the lap of luxury. You can take all the drugs and alcohol in the world, but your mind is not going to be satisfied. It will still want more, over and over and over again. So Bhakti Yoga system, the Maha Mantra, this is a life-saving tool. Learning, training our awareness to be focused on the Maha Mantra alone. Where the thought process is secondary to our nature. When we need to use our thought process and coming up with a game plan, coming up and how to serve Krishna, that's when we use a thought process. But our mind should be surrendered to the Maha Mantra at all times. So the 16 rounds in the morning that we do, that's just the beginning of the day. That's just the first steps. So we're training our mind to be focused on the mantra, not so much on our thoughts. And we to carry on with that throughout our day. When we're doing our service, chant the Maha Mantra while you're doing your service. And it's the same thing. When thoughts arise, distracting thoughts arise, bring yourself back to the mantra over and over again. Only by doing this sincerely with effort, day after day, with patience and practice, does the bitterness go away of like, oh my gosh, am I only on the 5th round? Hare Krishna, how much longer is this going to take? That bitterness will go away. Oh, how many dishes I gotta do. My gosh, all 3 sinks are full and dishes are piled up on the floor. Hare Krishna, that bitterness goes away. Because it doesn't matter how many dishes there are. You got the Maha Mantra. Everything becomes so sweet when you're surrendered to it, when your mind is engaged at all times in the Maha Mantra and not following these thoughts that only cause disturbance, that are only going to lead to more dissatisfaction. That's the only way that I can tell you to advance in Krishna consciousness is be sincere with your chanting. Be fully engaged and have your mind focused on the Maha Mantra itself. And not follow your thoughts, not be attached to these thoughts. It takes time, it takes effort, but I'm telling you, it's all so worth it in the end. And it just gets sweeter and sweeter. Any questions or comments before I move on to the next verse? Text 31. O blessed of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Purport. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is inevitably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and a sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in the material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas, therefore, give us a chance for escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulate sense gratification, and at last that means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. The paths of religion, or the different kinds of sacrifice recommended above, automatically solves our economic problems. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc., even if there is a so-called increase of population. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage. And the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, sacrifice, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajna according to the Vedas, how can he be expert? How can he expect a happy life? There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets, and in all cases there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajnas. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all the problems of material existence. Text 32. Translation. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Purport. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, the mind, or the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord here within from his own mouth. Text 33. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice of knowledge is greater than the sacrifice of material possessions. O son of Pritha, after all, the sacrifice of work accumulates in transcendental knowledge. Purport. The purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one faith reaches a stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge accumulates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform, depending on differences in consciousness. Sacrificial activities are sometimes called karmakanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana-kanda, knowledge and the pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge. Text 34. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Very important verse. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Purport. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplinic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplinic succession. Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplinic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of these foolish pretenders. Bhagavatam says, Dharmam hi shakshad bhagavatat pradinitam. The path of religion is directly initiated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. That's what it takes. Being submissive to the spiritual master and rendering service to him. Trying to please your spiritual master. You know, Prabhupada was trying to please his spiritual master, rendering service to his spiritual master, coming here to the West, spread Krishna consciousness. Look what Prabhupada achieved through the mercy of his Guru, mercy of Krishna. Because Prabhupada sacrifices his determination and his efforts to please his spiritual master, we now have temples all around the world. We have wonderful books translated to English, into all different languages. And just like as Prabhupada serving his spiritual master, there are disciples serving him, Prabhupada. Such as our Guru, Dhanavir Goswami, he's serving Prabhupada. I'm serving Dhanavir Goswami. And so we're all in this together in expanding Krishna consciousness all around the world. We're trying to please our spiritual master. This is going all the way up to the line of the Param system. Whereas if I say, I'm praying to my Guru is praying to his Guru is praying to his Guru, and this goes all the way back. These prayers are going all the way back to Krishna, all the way through the Param system. Because even after death, even after our Guru leaves this world, they are still serving Krishna. They are still serving their disciples. And their disciples are still serving the Guru. So we have a whole lineage of acharyas lifting us up in prayer, taking us home to Krishna. Isn't that awesome? That's worthwhile being initiated into the system. To have a whole line of acharyas praying for you. Be a part of that system. We're in the golden age of this movement. We're at the very beginning of it. We've got 10,000 years for this to explode all over the world. Oh, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments before we end class? No questions or comments? That's our time for today. Bhava Gita Ki Jai.